being told we're not streaming yet. I have this fear that we are. Oh, now we are. Okay, very good. So please stand by for the intro to the show. Welcome to Outwitting the Manipulator, the podcast that gives you powerful techniques to protect yourself as a manipulation is taking place. Now here are your hosts, authors, and communication experts, Robin Galinsky and Dr. Dennis Becker.
You know, Robin, every time I hear our theme song, it makes me think about something different. And this week, it's making me think about our media moment that we're going to introduce to our friends a little bit later on. It's perfect.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Dennis Becker, and this is my friend and colleague, Robin Galinsky. And we're here today to be talking about manipulation in a slightly different way than we have been over the past couple of shows. But Robin, hello, welcome.
Hello. And I love the way David outed himself that he was manipulating the audience and stalling for time. It's almost like he felt compelled to do that. Yes.
Well, the truth is everybody manipulates one way or another.
Right. And actually, it's a good point that the book actually, although it's to prevent you from being the target of manipulation, it does have the effect of creating self-awareness about when one manipulates.
Mm-hmm. And that screen you saw at the beginning of the show, that's the cover for our book, in case you're wondering what book we're talking about. It's called, I think I have one. Wait, I have one right here. This is the one we're talking about. If you haven't seen it or heard of it yet, that's what we're talking about, manipulation. But the real thing here is protecting yourself in real time. That's what we're really concerned about. Not just what manipulation is and how it happens and, you know, why did I get into that and so forth. And no.
Well, it's about later on cleaning up all the damage when you realize a little too late that you have been manipulated.
So why we wrote this book and why we're doing all of this with you is to help you protect yourself in real time as it's happening to you and prevent it from happening to you. Even though you may currently be feeling like a target, we're going to show you how to get rid of it. That's what all this is all about with us. So we're delighted that you're joining us today. And each time we have a live stream and we do a podcast, we focus on something a little bit different about manipulation, but it's always designed to help you be more self-aware and find out what you can do to protect yourself from being manipulated as it is happening. Not later, the next day in the morning. No, as it's happening, what can you do? And there you are standing and it's going on. So we're talking about that today. Now, today in specific, we want to talk about something that we've mentioned several times in the book and on the air here. So maybe you remember it if you haven't heard before. We're saying that the truth is you cannot even experience manipulation without communication. In other words, the chief tool that manipulators use against you is communication.
I want to add something to that.
About communication and the various ways in which it happens to you. And we're going to focus on one specific part. Robin, what were you going to say? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Well, I want to add to that. It takes another thing. Yes, it cannot happen without communication. It also requires you to be complicit. And this is the part where you're personally responsible for being manipulated.
What does that mean? I mean, that sounds like if I'm being manipulated, it's my fault. I did something. What does that mean, complicit?
It means you have to go along with it. You have to allow it in order for it to take place.
But if you don't even know it's taking place, you know, I don't know.
Exactly. Well, that's part of what we're helping with, right? Identifying it. Identifying the tactics and the tactics, there's many, 24 that we've identified that are in the book, but they switch and they can be used more than one tactic at a time. They come up very swiftly, very insidiously, and some of the tactics feel oh so good that you don't want them to stop.
Yeah. It's very true. So complicit doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with it and you're going along with it. And although in some way you are, if you're not aware enough to know what's happening. And that's, of course, what we're trying to help you realize.
That's a good point, Dennis. In the beginning, perhaps you're being complicit in an unknowing way.
Yeah.
But there comes a point at which there are too many red flags and too many alarm bells where you have to consciously become complicit. There's a turning point in almost all of these relationships. Why? Because of somebody who's trying to have ultimate control and really trying to manipulate another person, you get in deeper and deeper and deeper, and the cost is greater and greater and greater. And typically it starts out seeming really wonderful, the love bombing or the honeymoon phase. It could be with a job as well. And then at some point it's like a switch is flipped and you see another side, because a manipulator has a mask on. So then they revert to the other darker tactics. And then usually at that point, when that happens, you're already in too deep to get out. Yeah. And at that point, what a lot of people do, and I'm speaking very generally, but what a lot of people do is they already have too much at stake, whatever that is. They've gone public with the relationship. They've invested in it, time, money, or energy, or to have children with this person, or whatever it is. And then they start to become very conscious of being complicit. They have to work at it. They have to sell themselves on it and ignore things and not look at things, and then amplify other things that were maybe just normal things, but no, this is amazing that they did that. And so they do this mind game with themselves in order to keep subjecting themselves to it.
And this can go on for sometimes literally years.
Decades. It can go on for a lifetime.
It can go on for a long, long time. So we're trying to help all of you, if you're there, to recognize that you're there, how to prevent it from happening again today, tomorrow, tonight. And for those who are watching, I don't know, I'm not, to help you to be perhaps more self-aware that it could be going on around you.
So to take responsibility, though, for your role in it.
It does. And there's a lot to this. I mean, that's why we're here for the long run, and we'll be with you time after time. And we love having questions from you. So please feel free to put something in the chat and let us know what it is we can help you with. And if we don't get to you while we're on the air, we'll literally be responding to you. So send us your address and whatever you're comfortable doing, we will respond to.
He didn't mean address. You can go to the website Outwit in real time and contact us.
I don't know your address. I mean,
he's got a side hustle with data sharing, if you know what I mean.
Gee whiz. Oh my goodness. So, well, look, let's talk about this thing that we want to focus on today, Robin. And it's the word communication, because manipulation, as we've said many times, cannot occur without communication. So when we're talking about communication, you may be thinking that we are talking about communication, all this stuff. It happens in many different ways. And as we pointed out in the past, manipulators can take advantage of things and stuff and environments, locations, other people. There are a lot of things that they can take advantage of to manipulate you. One of the most commonly used and most powerful ones is the idea of communication, how they talk to you, how they listen to you. And remember, you cannot not communicate. So even if they're showing you nothing, if they're just standing there looking at you, they're communicating something, and you know that better than anybody. But there's some overt things, like not only the way they talk to you, but certain words that they use, even in talking to you. It's not just what they say, but certain words that...
The word choice.
Word choice.
They're very adept. So manipulators are typically charismatic and highly intelligent. We need to remind you of that. These are no dummies. These are not dummies. You have to be smart to keep track of all the ins and outs that a manipulator has to do. So... But I think, Dennis, about looking up the thesaurus, right? When you think about a manipulator, they have a thesaurus in their brain of word choices. So they could be talking about something as simple as talking or walking. And then they'll pull up all the words and say, oh, chatting, oh, verbose, or loquacious, or diarrhea mouth. You know, that for somebody who talks too much, it gets worse and worse and worse. But but that's what we're talking about. The word choice, walking, she lumbered in, or she shuffled in. You know, you don't even see that sneaking up on you, but those words have a different feeling, a different
describing somebody, like to describe Robin. Well, Robin's very talkative. as opposed to chatty or friendly or forthcoming. Talkative can mean different things to different people. And each one of those words is chosen very carefully because they know the impact it's going to have on you or another person who they are using to influence you. Surrogates,
Yes.
we've talked about that before.
Yes.
So, Robin, while you were saying that, I'm thinking, it's not just with people who you know and people who are really there to manipulate. Sometimes it comes from a mass media, from advertising even. I think of how many times, and remember my first learned about the use of the word lemony. What the heck? They were advertising some cleaning something or other, and it's got a very lemony smell. And on the product was a picture of a lemon. There's no lemon anything in that thing, but the word lemony lets them get away with it.
It's like the new word ish, right? People add ish at the end.
Or it's chocolatey, So they have to put those words together carefully because they know if they said it's chocolate or it's lemon, you would have to have that in the product. But they manipulate your thinking about lemon and chocolate by using, sometimes they're called weasel words. They're able to get out of it by just...
I love that, weasel words. Poor weasels. They get a bad rap.
Well, weasels are nasty little creatures, I think. We don't care.
Dennis, we have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Can someone's lack of communication be a form of manipulation? For example, ghosting.
Well, ghosting itself is a form of manipulation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Right? Oh, yeah, and it's powerful.
Sure, because all of a sudden, like I said, not communicating is communicating.
Right.
So when someone ghosts you, you know darn well you're being somehow or another told something about yourself. You're being manipulated in some way. So someone with a lack of communication, well, we all have communication in one way or the other. If you're saying someone who doesn't have a big vocabulary or who hasn't had a lengthy education or something, the answer is still yes. Absolutely. Anyone can be a manipulator. So you don't have to be using formal language or specific tactics to be a manipulator. And sometimes you don't know even what you're doing, but you do it because it works.
And we talk about manipulators being that person who just ultimately want control. They have an intent, they have a strategy. There are people who just manipulate in the moment as well. Doesn't matter. Nobody wants to be manipulated, whether it's somebody who wants to get you in deep or whether it's in the moment. But Dennis, what you just brought up, that whole thing about not communicating made me think of a recent example of a woman I'm coaching who works in a very male-dominated industry. She's 35 years old. She's blonde. She's cute. And the leader of the company, a higher up guy, never shakes her hand or looks her in the eye for some reason. And he literally will introduce himself to every other person, like at the holiday party. To me, it was really obvious. He shook all the men's hands and then just kind of passed her up. So that's communicating, right? But what is it communicating? We don't know for sure. It could be communicating you're not important, I don't like you. But more than likely, I told her, I think he gets uncomfortable, maybe post Me Too. He doesn't really know what to do. But no matter, I said, when this happens, she's got to make sure that her hand gets shaken. She looks him in the eye. She uses his name. So I said, you smile, you say his name, stick your hand out. You don't ever let him get away with that again. Why is that? Many reasons. All those observers who are observing that happen are then going to have an opinion of her, right? They're going to think, well, why is that? They're going to make up reasons, stories, whatever. It's not going to help her. It's only going to hurt her. So it's very important that she take control of the situation and not allow it. And also, when you allow something like that, do you think it gets better? Do you think all of a sudden he's going to pivot and come to a sense?
No, he's not going to get the message. No,
it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So she's got to not allow it, and which can feel quite uncomfortable for someone who, well, first of all, she already feels like he's like 6 layers above her. And it's awkward and uncomfortable. But even though, those are important words, even though it's uncomfortable, you have to do right by yourself. You have to take care of yourself. which means not being complicit in whatever's happening if it's not right.
I've been thinking about it. We don't like to talk about politics on our show. We're not going to really, but because, first of all, I wish we could, because they are such manipulators. But anyway, here's an example. I want you to take, with no names, of course, because you've heard this many times, many different politicians at every level. They might get asked a question about, are you going to vote for this bill? Now, the answer requires a yes or no. That would give you the answer. Instead, you hear a word like this. They'll say, I've reviewed this bill, and in a large part, I'm in favor of it. In favor. Even if you're in favor a little bit, favor is intended to imply that I like it, I will vote for it. Chances are they won't vote for it, but by saying I'm in favor of it, it makes them feel better, impresses a certain audience they're looking to impress. So we see this kind of thing all the time in politics. And I want you to be aware of it as you're listening to us. As you see the news tonight, or whenever you watch it, if you do, notice what words people are choosing to answer the question, if they even answer the question. How do they answer the question? What words are they using in response to the actual question that gets asked? Manipulation happens all the time, every day, every hour of the day when you talk about politics. So there's going to be a lot of examples for you for that.
You can really practice your skills just by closely listening to, oh, that's an interesting word choice.
But Robin, there are times when folks, we don't want to give the impression that it's just manipulators who do this nasty stuff. Sometimes even the best of us, perhaps yourself, manipulate.
We all do.
What?
We all do.
We all do. That's right. That's exactly right. Let me give you an example. And those of you, even if you're not, I was going to say parents, but even if you're not a parent, chances are you have said something to a child, particularly, about the existence of the Easter Bunny, right? Or Santa Claus, okay? Oh, you have to go to bed early tonight because, Santa's coming. Well, tomorrow when the Easter Bunny comes, and the kid just takes it in. Now, do you regard yourself as being a manipulator because you did that to someone? You made them think a particular way? There are a lot of things like that we just do and say in order to achieve a particular impact and effect on another individual, or even for our own benefit. Is that manipulation? Robin, what do you think? Is that manipulation?
I mean, so this is the thing. I think that it is. And I did not tell my kids there was a Santa Claus because as it depends on the personality of the child, how they perceive it. I felt very lied to when I found out the truth, and I was very angry. Yeah. Most kids don't feel that way, but I did. And so, but it's goes back to intention, like you said, Dennis. But I'll tell you, the book will really help you have self-awareness. I found myself speaking to a client who asked me to do something that asked me to, I don't know, write something down or put something together. I forget what it was. And it wasn't, I was doing like a pro bono thing. So I said to her, sure, I guess I could struggle through that. And I immediately caught myself. And I said, wow, that was really manipulative of me. I told her, and she laughed. She thought that was so funny. And she said, you notice how I was being manipulative because I used the word struggle. And as soon as I said, sure, I can struggle through that, she goes, oh, well, I don't want you to struggle, right? That's what again, it happens so easily. So one of the things when you're raised by a manipulator, you learn how to manipulate. And I'll flat out say I could not have written this book if I didn't know how to manipulate. And by the way, it comes in really handy when I'm negotiating contracts, but forget about that for now. I don't have malicious intent.
Well, that's the point. That's the point.
Yes.
Right there. Let me stop you right there, because that's what we want you to know. Yes, we all manipulate in one way or another. We all do it in the craziest things, and simplest example. The one I gave you was easy. We all know that one. But we do it in so many different ways all the time, every day. Does that mean we're manipulators? Well, yeah, I suppose so. But not according to the definition that we're using for what we're talking about. When we're talking about a manipulator, we're talking about someone who does things like that we were talking about, does things like that for a purpose of controlling another person for their own benefit. They don't care what happens to the other person. It's nefarious intent. And it's not just one time. It's over and over. And as we said, it can sometimes go on for a year before you begin to feel it, or a lifetime, because you begin to, but you always feel it. You feel uncomfortable. That doesn't seem, I don't know. It feels weird. Remember what we told you about that? Anytime it feels weird, write it in your notes. Make a note of it, because it's going to be a pattern, Robin. I don't want to just finish this thought. It's going to be a pattern of things that happen. It will not be one thing, because a real manipulator, like we're talking about, over and over, they want to control you, your emotions, your behavior, your finances, who knows what. And they don't care what happens to you. It's all in their benefit. And I'm sorry, Robin, go ahead.
Well, one of the fears that you have as a mother are your children being manipulated. It's a real fear. And I tried to make my kids immune to it, which has its own parenting challenges when you try to manipulate them later, but forget that for now. I showed my kids how easy it was to manipulate people. I did one example. We were in a thrift shop and I said, watch me make somebody buy this sweater. Watch how I do it. I picked up the sweater. I looked it over. I oohed and ahed about it. I talked about the color. I talked about the brand. I said, gosh, I wish it was my size. And it's a shame because it's such a good price. I laid it down, walked away. I said, okay, look, this woman raced over, grabbed it and threw it in her cart. Didn't even look at it, just threw it in her cart. So I said, I didn't care about that sweater at all, but that's how easy it is, because what we're really trying to do here is I'm concerned that people don't think enough. They're not conscious enough. They're not paying attention enough. And it's only getting worse with more passive social media scrolling and watching things on TV. There's no active critical thinking going on. What we're helping you to do is have these active critical thinking skills. Now, I could have piqued my curiosity if I overheard somebody do that, and I'd go over and look at it. Well, it's not my size, or I don't know what she saw in that. I'd use my own critical thinking skills to assess it. Didn't happen. She immediately threw it in her cart. We had another situation in City Hall Plaza, downtown Boston, at a back to school event. There were about 50 people standing in a long line for a tent. Long line, single file line, and it kept growing. More people kept getting in the line. I walked with my kids up to the line. I said, what are you guys standing in line for? I don't know. They're giving away something for free. We asked 5 different people along the line. And I said, okay, this is lemmings. This is lemmings. I said, we're not waiting in this line. I went right up to the front of the line, went right up to the tent. I said, what's going on here? He goes, we're handing out water bottles in a few minutes. I said, that's it? He said, yeah. I said, all these people are standing in line for a water bottle. He goes, yeah, I don't think they know what they're standing in line for.
Yeah. How often does that happen? That you see something offered for free?
Why do people do this?
It's free. It sounds like it's free. Nothing is free, right? Every time you sign up for something that's for free, either you're going to get advertisements for the next 2 years, which takes your time, that's not free, or you find out that, well, it's free after the initial subscription or something. Very easy to manipulate with words like free and lucky and open.
Oh my gosh. And we got a question, and we got only a couple minutes. We're going to bring on our guest. Let's see.
All right.
I have a friend who puts me down by saying things like, it must be nice to have so much free time, to contrast her life as a busy professional. I feel awkward calling her on it though. How can I bring it up? Yeah, I have people say that to me. Not how much, how not the free time thing, but just that whole thing where like they say something about your life. Like it must be nice to have blah, blah, blah. Maybe something you worked really hard for. And they make it seem like you just lucked into it. It just fell in your lap.
Yeah. Must be nice to have so much free time. No such thing as free time. What happened, it's earned time. It's time that you worked hard to get. And to them, it may seem free, but to you, it costs a lot. And it may only be free from their perspective, because what you do with your free time may be a lot of work. It may be something that you're doing that you enjoy and you've earned it. So
Dennis, it must be so nice for you to have so much free time.
Yeah, really.
What's your
What I
response,
suggest
Dennis?
to this person in Cambridge, coming from Cambridge, what I'd suggest is that how can I bring it up to her? Ask her for her definition of free, or him for his definition of free time. What does free time mean? How do you see free time? What do you regard as free time? Don't you have free time? You'll find that if you get into a discussion about definition for such things as free time, it leads you to an easier position in dealing with someone like that. Because what's free to them may not be free to you. What's free may have taken an awful lot of work to get to make it available, because free is the manipulative word. Like Robin was saying with the water bottles. Free is manipulative. It's not free. You earned it. And it's not, or if it's truly free, you can bet it comes with strings. There's something on it. So I wouldn't worry about
Dennis
those
always has the nice response. You should show you, if you want the nice response, go to Dennis. If you want the more direct response.
Where do we go? Oh, golly.
I would say,
Well,
yeah, it's actually fantastic to have so much free
Yeah.
time. Why don't you have any
Sure.
free time?
Yeah.
Poor time management, maybe? No. Anyway,
Well, listen, the point we're making with this portion of today's show is about words and how they contribute to the communication of manipulation. And words have a lot of power, a lot of power. It doesn't seem that way because it's only a word, lumbering, or, talkative or free. It can practically take any word and make it manipulative.
yes.
And they
Especially
are
when you
very
add
good
tone,
at it.
right?
They're very good at it. It's not just the word, it's sometimes the way the word is said, like Robin was just saying. It could be tone. It could carry a facial expression with it. Yeah. How do you have so much free time? Free time, as though there's something more nefarious behind it. All of that stuff we've talked about before, facial expression, tone of voice, how it's positioned in the sentence itself. There's a lot that goes into it, and manipulators know all of it. We want you to be aware that they have that power, even with a single word, not just a whole nefarious tactic, but
Start
every
listening
word
carefully for those word choices.
makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
listen, we have a special guest with us today, so we're going to move on a little bit. We have a special guest. Robin, would you be kind enough, please, to introduce our guest for us
I'm
today?
going to introduce the special guest. The special guest today is Vanessa. Vanessa, if you want to join us. I've known Vanessa for 30 years.
Oh,
And she is no stranger to manipulation.
aha.
How's everybody today?
Vanessa, welcome to the show. And as you know, we're talking about manipulation in a lot of different ways today. We've been talking about, if you haven't heard, today we've been talking about how manipulators use communication and specifically how they communicate with particular words and how they manipulate one single simple little word to make it have a feeling, an impact on you, to control you and to control your emotions. Now, I understand you're going to share with us some things about how manipulation has been part of your life. Is that right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to.
Can you guys move a little bit closer to the mic?
I'm
It's just
sorry. Can you hear me now? All righty.
She's got a nice voice.
better. Thank you very much.
It's funny when just a minute ago when you was talking about, when you was in the thrift store, and it's funny. I thought about a situation when we go shopping, and the price tag says $1.99. People will actually not buy it if it said $2.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Yep. They've known
That's
that for
Only a
years.
penny.
Yeah.
Only
right.
a penny.
Famous advertising manipulation. That's right. It's a tactic.
Works every
Absolutely.
time.
That's I don't
Yep.
know why that came
Well,
to
in
me.
real estate too, 599,000 is way less than
Yeah.
600.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Even the word, if you added one penny, people would have a different reaction.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's in every single word. So
Go ahead.
Vanessa, in your world, have you experienced, I'm not going to ask you, tell us how you have experienced manipulation, if you don't mind.
When haven't you?
Oh.
In the last, maybe not in the last 30 minutes, but she's been waiting to come on the show. No, just kidding.
Very interesting. It's funny that a lot of folks that actually do that, they don't exactly say it. Communication, verbal communication is for the most part number one, but you can also do the same thing by your actions. Okay. And when I say that, and I'm actually touching about relationships, whether it's friends, romance, associates, you know, because for the most part, a lot of people really want to be able to please others. And again, you know, if, say, for instance, we just met or what have you, and I bring her a cup of coffee, okay, out of the blue.
Get very suspicious if she
Well, that's Robin.
can't help it.
You know, things like that. Start doing things that would actually please the person.
Yeah.
All right. And then slowly but surely, this is a calculated type of situation, because believe it or not, there's a lot of that going on these days.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. With relationships. You see it on social media. All right. When, you know, what is it? That TikTok? I don't.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
TikTok, yeah.
Okay.
We don't partake either.
Yeah. You know, the way things are portrayed, not so much in a verbal type of sense, but bottom line, as far as, you know, how a person looks.
Oh.
All right. You want to inspire to be this type of person. Now, my thing is, bottom line, eventually, there is some type of communication, whether it be actions or, you know, talking. You get the person to the state that they actually feel that they themselves feel insecure, maybe a little bit inferior, or maybe to the point they don't know how to make friends, depending on where the insecurity lies, you know, or when, I wouldn't say children, because adults do it too, as far as getting a person, you want to hang out with this person. All right.
Have you had experience with this kind of thing, Vanessa? I mean, the description you're giving is absolutely accurate.
When I was younger, yes.
Yeah.
I would say for the most part, when I was probably high school going into my 20s.
Oh, by the way, little commercial break.
What?
The highest targeted group for manipulation are girls between the ages of 16 and 25. They are the most manipulated. Anyway, go ahead.
Wow.
Fun
fact.
And 9 times out of 10, something like that would occur. They may have a lot of friends. They may not. They are not comfortable in a situation, with whatever situation they're in within themselves. And again, when you say they have to take responsibilities, yes, if something does not feel right, you know when something doesn't feel right with you. You know it, okay? Some of us play the game that, you know, we kind of go into our denial. Denial is not the only river in Egypt, okay? And we try to convince ourselves that, you know, I like this person, I want to make a good impression. Maybe they might like me more. Yeah, that can
Slippery
be,
slope.
yes, it can be a problem. And the thing about it is that sometimes we get into a type of situation that we don't actually look at ourselves. What do you want? You know, to ask yourself that question. What do you want? What's going to make you happy? If this person is doing what he's doing, and for the most part, 9 times out of 10, you really don't realize it at the
Yeah.
beginning, but slowly but surely, it might be a quick situation, it might be a slow situation.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting to the point that you're thinking to yourself, or your heart is telling you that something is not quite right, that's the time that, bottom line, you have to take stock within yourself. A lot of times, like you said, it can go on for decades.
But they double down when you do that. Like, let's say, like, use a real example from when you were young, like maybe like a guy who's slowly, coercively controlling. He feels you pulling away, trying to break up with him. Usually he turns up the volume of the sweetness and the kindness to get you
Yes,
in.
he can. But
Yeah,
again,
it takes a lot.
It does. And it may take you a while. Don't misunderstand me. You don't have, a timer of when you have to get away, or when you have to decide to make that move. Sometimes, again, like you said, it takes decades.
Yeah.
Some people are, like I said, in denial. They want to see, and the excuse is, well, I'm trying to help. I want them to,
I'm gonna fix them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna transform
You
them.
got to fix yourself. And I've had to go through that. I've had the experience that finally that I've had to have that long talk with myself. Sometimes I'll be in the house and I'm running away, just talking like this, 5 people in there and it's only me. I do that now, just to make sure you, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's,
Self-talk.
Yes,
Good self-talk, not negative
exactly.
self-talk.
Exactly.
So
And
Vanessa, when you do that, it's a great technique. With positive self-talk, it's great for you. When you do that, it's because you have felt it, or you've recognized that something's not right in this relationship. What did you do with that other person that was being uncomfortable? Did you approach it directly, or just get away, or how did you deal with it?
communication, talking,
Uh-huh.
right? And there's certain things that during a conversation that a person will say. I always say, even with my children, is that a person will tell on themselves.
Yes.
They always tell on themselves.
That's
You
brilliant
just
right there.
have to listen, because I can talk now. I can talk you to death. Okay. I do a very good job talking to myself. Right. But a person will sit, especially, a manipulator, they like talking about themselves because they think very highly of themselves. Right. And you just have to listen.
Yeah.
When something comes out of somebody's mouth that you say, that's interesting.
Can you think of an example? Anything bubble up?
Makes you feel
I know
uncomfortable.
exactly what you're talking about. It's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
so
you
true.
know, but we go into this thing, well,
Maybe
maybe they
not.
didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding, because
Yeah.
perception, no, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like you have a time, a specific time that you have to hurry up and get through this. It can take you a day, a month, a year, 2 years, maybe longer. There are a lot of people that are still in situations, have best friends. What did they call them? Besties?
Yeah.
Okay, you can tell I'm out of the loop with all this stuff. And, husbands, like you were saying, that they have so much, they've invested so much.
Yeah.
I get that. But you know something? The best investment that you can ever have is with yourself.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, all this, when you add it up, and then you think about, if you're happy, for the most part, a lot of people, what is happiness? So I'm not even going to get into that, but with this moments, all right. But bottom line, it's all about you. You are the most important. A friend of mine, I just want to do a notation with this. A friend of mine, all you folks that have children, all right?
Children or adult children?
Well, children,
Okay.
children, well, either, just
But
children.
we know adult
okay?
children are a whole
Oh,
different.
yeah. We're not
Well,
even
don't
gonna
get
go
us
there.
started.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
go ahead.
I was talking to her one day. She's actually, she passed. She was one of my best friends, kind of rough around the edges, but always said the truth, always. And I told her one day, I said, my children come before me. And she said, oh, no, my sister. No. You come first. Then you're able to give to your children or your husband or whatever it takes. And that to me, even though it was something maybe to you guys very small, but that made me turn around and actually really think about, what do I want? Because I was young. I just had my first child, and I was seeing different people having fun, partying, whatever, and I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to still be in that crowd, but I still had to be a parent. And
Have you
again,
been able to pass that on to your children?
yes,
Good.
yes.
Good.
And they're female.
Yeah, they're female.
I think it's harder for females to
yeah,
grasp
because
that.
again,
Oh.
Don't have to really, not really a hard sell for men. Put yourself
No.
first.
no,
Oh.
but
No
I have
offense to your gender.
but I am sympathetic to a degree with some males, because there's a status that they have to portray that, yeah.
I'm the man.
I got that, what? I'm not gonna say on camera, but I got that B. Yeah, she's mine, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and they have to portray that with their friends. So, there's two sides.
Yeah, nothing's a cakewalk.
two
Human
sides.
experience. So when did you first recognize or identify manipulation? Like, how old were you, and do you remember like what it was?
Oh, I was
Really?
single digits. My
Really?
parents,
Really?
my parents.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
Do you remember the
Really?
moment though, or the?
My grandmother, yeah, when she told me to sweep the floor, and I'll make you blueberry muffins. And I actually asked her, I think it was about 7. I said, well, why do I have to sweep the floor to get blueberry muffins when you
boy.
make them all the time?
Uh-huh.
And she actually said to me, don't ask me any questions. Just sweep the
Oh.
floor and I'll make the blueberry muffins.
Uh-huh.
So that was, I'm like, well, what's the floor got to do with the blueberry muffins?
Oh man, you put it together.
Yeah.
That's a young age.
Wow.
There's been situations, I've hung out with many types of crowds. Okay.
Use your imagination.
Okay.
Keep going.
And I was the type of person, loved to party. I mean, I used to tell my grandparents, if you didn't hear from me by Tuesday, call the police. And, there was a certain element, street people that I like to hang out with. And when you hang out with certain crowds, they expect you to kind of turn you over to their side
Mhm.
of how they roll.
Mhm.
And there was a gentleman, boy, this guy was fly. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, make you wanna, woo, all right.
Yeah.
And he said, he was a street guy, as we all know, call them pimps.
Oh, that's what you meant by street guy. I'm so naive.
Yeah, I know, that's all right.
It's all right.
That's all right. I'm trying to be nice on here now.
You don't
okay?
have to be nice. It's okay.
And he would tell, he said to me one time, he said, I'm going to make you a proposition. Now, you can come work for me. Now, just to let you know, people, I like to party. That's all it was. Party. Okay. And you laugh. I'm serious.
All right.
And he said, I'm going to make you a proposition. You come work for me and I'll take care of you. Now, just to let you know, at the time, I was still underage.
Mhm.
Okay. I was not 18. So I said, well, what are you going to do for me? And he said, well, I'll take care of you. And he said, well, he said, well, I said, well, I'm going to work for you and I'm making this money. And he said, yeah, you give it to me. I said, why am I going to give it to you?
Mhm.
She asks too many questions.
Okay.
Something a
Well,
manipulator hates.
these, and again, some women don't have that. Some
Lots
women
don't.
and
Yes.
bottom line, I said, well, what is this to my advantage? I don't get it. I said, if I do that,
Did he punch you in the face?
no, we had we had
I'm just
really
checking.
a conversation. And I said, well, if I did that, how is that to my advantage if I got to give you the money that I earned? And I got to give it to you. And what did you do? And he said, well, I'll keep you out of jail. I said, I got a mother to do that. Okay. Not that, again, like I said, not that I was doing that, but the point is that because he used his looks. Okay, just to let you know, I never went to bed with him. Like I said, like to party. I'm too old to party now because I'm in bed by 8:00. All right. Just
the
to let you know,
stuff of legend.
I got great memories. That's all I can tell you. Great memories
and stories.
there you go. But again, that something like that, and there are women that actually go for that. I had one woman tell me that he doesn't love me anymore. I said, why is that? He said, because he doesn't beat me anymore. I'm like, get out of here. This is
the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even
I'm not even worth the beating.
Exactly.
Wow.
So again, there is so many levels of manipulation that is, you'd be surprised what people will do just to be, noticed, to be recognized, or just to feel that they need to do this because they think they need this person's love. You have to have your own love for you. And sometimes, and I know my sisters, my brothers out there, I know that's hard. Okay? Because sometimes I doubt the love for myself.
We all do.
Okay. So
That's
nobody is immune. Some, like I said, I'll talk a lot by myself. And if I have to, I might have a low point and I have to talk myself that, nope, I am a good person. I demand things that that I believe that I need for me. And I consider myself a very low maintenance person. My ex-husband, as I said ex, right?
Big fan.
I got it. Got it.
I'm one of these persons, kiss me on my forehead, tell me you love me, and you can go on out the door and do what you need to do and come back when you finish. Okay. So yeah, don't ever allow, and there are points within yourself that that this doesn't feel right. And you when somebody's giving you some BS, when they talk that talk, or they're trying to demonstrate how they love you. You just don't want to admit it. It's a lot to admit it.
It is.
It is.
So Vanessa, if you were leaving one specific thought or suggestions to the younger women now, how to avoid being manipulated, what advice would you give them at this point in your wisdom in life to those who don't have that wisdom and life experience yet?
That's a hard one. And the reason why I say it's a hard one is because there's so many things that are bombarding them that they have to look this way. You have to wear your hair this way. You have to, dress this way. It's funny because when I was young, I used to wear all the, stuff, the boom, bam, all the sexy stuff. I was reading an article about Sierra, is that her name? The football player's wife. And she had a dress on that you could see through. Why do you have to resort to that in order to get attention?
Because it just keeps getting more
It
and
gets,
more and more. And it gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just so desperate.
Yeah.
And it's always surface. It's always surface.
Yeah.
There's nobody wants to really know the real you inside.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why there's an epidemic of suicides and body dysmorphia and kids, like, just the whole thing.
It is. But bottom line, think about what you want. It only takes, maybe you could start off with 5 seconds or write it down on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
When you start, thinking about what your needs are, what you even think what you want,
right?
Or even think what you don't want. I think after a while, you'll start to understand when somebody's trying to, manipulate you. You may not at the time do something about it, but at least you're aware. That's the first step. Become aware.
Once you have awareness, you can't go to sleep again.
Right. It takes time with everything. It
That's
really does.
Key, really.
Yeah.
That is key. What she
It does.
just said.
And now, and thinking about time, we're about up to time that we want to thank you for coming into us and sharing this wisdom with us, really. And the level of awareness that you have acquired is something that we're hoping everybody can get to.
Yeah, the hard way. Trust me.
The hard way. It's sometimes.
She was hazed into it.
That's right. But I think your message about not only self-awareness, but self-care and self-love is really, really important, because sometimes when you're being manipulated, that takes over and you don't have a sense of self.
It does.
So
that's really what they rob you of.
Yeah, sure.
Sense of self.
So this message is really valuable, Vanessa. Thank you very much for giving us your time and your wisdom in this. Huh? What, Robin?
I said I knew she'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, no question, no doubt about it.
I can tell you some stories. I'm here to tell you.
All right, we'll have a special session for that. I'll listen to that session. It's great. All right. Well, thank you very much, Vanessa, for coming in and being our special guest today. It was really a treat and very helpful to our friends out there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Now, we're going to, Dave, would you mind sharing on the screen some ways that folks can get in touch with us? Now, we want to recognize that not only do we meet you like this, but there are other ways that you can get in touch with us. As Dave is showing you right now, our producer Dave is showing you, these are 3 different ways that you can get in contact with us. And feel free to do that at any time, like we had a couple of questions today. And if there are others that you'd like to submit that we don't really want to, you don't want to share on the air, do it anyway. We will respond to you. These 3 contacts are a way to get in touch with us. And so we'll help you however we can. So don't think it's only this way. And if it works for you in a better way, please reach out to us. We will help you. That's why we're here. Now, we want to move on to media moment.
No, we are wrapping up, Dennis.
Well,
we didn't do the media moment. Sorry.
I want to share this with them. I think this was really great.
Okay.
We have a suggestion for you for media moment. We have a couple of minutes left. Now, each time we do this, the idea is to share with you something that we have found somewhere in the media that we think we hope we know, will help you identify manipulation, help you to prepare yourself, help you to be stronger, to be aware of it in the many, many different forms that it can come at you. And so we have found different ways to share with you in this part called Media Moment. So today, we want to share something with you. Robin, do you want to introduce this? You want me to introduce it?
Well, it's just a show that's out on Apple
Paramount.
TV. Paramount. Oops. Yeah. Called Why Women Kill. It's a series. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Our life has led up to this moment. I see these garden club ladies every week at this bistro downtown. They're so chic, and they seem to have so much fun together. I'd be happy every day of my life if I had a group of elegant friends like that.
So how does someone join a club like that?
Familiar with the Elysian Park Garden Club?
Oh, honey. They don't let frumps into the garden club.
Started the day convinced I would never laugh again. And then you walked in wearing that frock.
My whole life, you've been worried about other.
Okay.
It just goes and goes.
It's really amazing. If it looks scary, yeah. If it looks funny, yeah. It's a little bit of both. Robert, do you want to say something about it? Because you really like the show too, I know.
Well, it's fun to watch. I have noticed that almost every show that's interesting is based on manipulation, but it's also helpful to identify the tactics that are happening. But one thing about this show is, even though it's humorous, it shows how you can marinate in this manipulation and actually get somebody so far removed from their own value system that you can get them to commit murder for you, which is a surrogate, right? And this is not news. There are actually real life stories of this happening. But yeah, so the show is about murder, and also, bouncing off what Vanessa was just saying about social media and feeling like you have to belong and feeling like you have to look a certain way. It's about that too. Her obsession with being in this garden club. If only she could be in this garden club and be one of the ladies, right? And it's be careful what you wish for, because she does get into the garden club, but the grass is always greener syndrome is always there. The grass is greener on the other side if I can just get over there. So there's a lot of layers to this.
There really is. What I found so interesting, first of all, is that there are a lot of layers, but every layer contains manipulation of one sort or another. Sometimes it's very obvious and overt, and you'll pick it up and say, oh, yeah. Other times, what? It may take you a little while to figure out what's just happened, but it's incredible. It's a funny story, but it's a serious, what do they call these, dramedies?
I think so. The woman that you saw in the clip with the red dress, what's interesting about that is she's manipulating her husband at the same time manipulating her lover, and her lover's manipulating her back.
It's amazing.
So yeah.
Oh, it's
so you're going to marinate in manipulation with this series. And
yeah, we recommend it. Why Women Kill. So it's on
watch
Paramount.
Yourself.
And be careful, but it'd be good for you because you're learning. So, Producer Dave, is there anything in particular that you'd like to share with us?
No, you don't have to go home, Dennis, but you can't stay here. We have to get off the show.
Okay, all right.
Closing time.
But I want you to do your typical goodbye, and then we'll cue the credits. So please.
All right, great. And again, now thank you, Producer Dave, for that. And we want to thank you for being here, each of you who has been with us for this past hour or so. And you'll join us again 4 weeks from today. And there are other ways to get in touch with us, as Producer Dave just showed you. He'll tell you a little bit more about that and how to get in touch with us. But in the meantime, thank you for being with us today. And on behalf of my colleague, Robin Golinsky, I'm Dr. Dennis Becker saying thanks for listening and bye for now.
Goodbye.
Welcome to Outwitting the Manipulator.
Oh, that was fast.